So I'm going to start. I'm going to begin now. And most of you know at least some aspect of me. And so visual artist, I do curation for community projects, mostly cultural. And some of you don't know that I've become very spiritual and working on healing in the last probably 5 years big. Before we start, I wanted to make sure that we're honoring native land. The people that were originally here are still here. They were never discovered and the land was stolen from them. And right in this area, I know some of you could actually give more detail, but I have Miwok and Ohlone people that are still unrecognized by our government. And to prevent erasure, I ask that you speak their names, think about this in your daily life and learn about them, because the colonization is still ongoing. And for those of you that know my partner, Cris Matos from Puerto Rico, same thing. Colonization is still, they're getting crushed there. That's another topic. So today I'm going to just start doing the talk, and I promise I tried really hard to keep it so that you understand, you learn thought processes that I've come up with that hopefully will inspire your journey artistically or healing and working with community. And then when we're finished, I'm not exactly sure, it might be 1:45 or 2 or 2:30. I'm going to open it up and hope we can start to dialogue with each other. And I know some of you haven't seen each other for a while. It'd be nice to see you guys talking about each other. And then introduce you to two people. Jasmine, she's been following me with her father since she was 4. And this painting in the background, just take note of it because it's going to show up later. But just coincidentally, I realized her father was the one that bought this painting quite some time ago. And Jasmine just started working with me as an assistant to help me navigate a lot of the online stuff, me being older. And then Marianne is going to be monitoring YouTube for me, which is lovely. So let's see, Jen, did you want to let people know about some of the logistics?
Sure.
Is she there?
Sure, definitely. So, I mean, I think we've talked about how everyone's going to be muted throughout the talk. And then at the end, we'll take a quick break for you to grab a snack, kind of reset, and then we'll all have a chat and you can totally unmute yourself, and we want free-flowing conversation. But that's the plan. Just
and you are being recorded. Yeah.
Yes. And if you don't want to be recorded, you can always turn off your video. And that's it. Please enjoy the talk. It's really excellent.
Thank you, Jasmine. So I would love it if you guys could stay on, if possible, and not mute your beautiful faces, because I would love to see them. And the, I think that's all I want to say right now. So the first thing I'm going to do, this is just going to be about 1.5 minutes. I want to do a quick grounding with all of you to bring us all into the room. And I wanted to say thank you so much for being here, especially if you're from Northern California. This is our first day of kind of clear air. So thank you for being here. And I always teach in my workshops that you're here to hear something from either me or each other. And I am here to hear something from you. So intuitively, something has brought you into this room with me and with each other. So thank you. So if you're comfortable, you take a deep breath and just, if you're comfortable, close your eyes. So deep breath in and breathe in the energy, believe it or not, from your computer, that you're sharing space with kindred spirits who are willing to come and spend their afternoon to get inspired, hopefully, by what I have to say. And when you breathe out the last 4 years and the last month of just stress. So breathe in each other's energy and nurturing and being around people with good intentions right now. And breathe out all that's not yours, all the stuff that's happening outside your home and even inside your home that isn't yours. You just let it go. And turn your mind's eye to look as if you're looking from inside your body at the top of your head and looking down. and watch the roots, your roots grow from your body. This is to get you grounded through the floor, from your feet and your hips and your legs down through the floor into Mother Earth. And when you breathe in again, you're breathing in all that nurturing energy from each other, and blow out and watch all that negative energy just kind of slide, melt down through your roots, and just let it go and give it to Mother Earth. Because all this stress and tension actually makes Mother Earth more powerful, but it just makes you weak. So you don't have to hold it. So one more deep breath in and out. And when you can, just open your eyes and come back into the room. Come back in with us. And welcome back. So again, first time I haven't done open studios in 30 years. So welcome to my studio. This is the entryway. I have lots of chandeliers, and if you've never visited it, hopefully someday you will. It's at 1890 Bryant, San Francisco, Suite 302. And just a quick note of thanks. My mom and dad, sounds so cliche, but my mom passed a year and a half ago, and she's very much a part of this slideshow. Cris Matos, who is my spiritual soulmate, artistic soulmate, John W. Deal, J.W. Deal, Cris and he pretty much provided all the photos for the show. And then my brothers, my sister-in-law, and my nephews are kind of all my rocks. I'm not going to read everybody below, but these are people who've been with me for some time and also have been heavy collectors, which is so wonderful. So with my mom and dad, I learned how to be playful with them, although we had a lot of moments of silence growing up. But just quickly, my dad ended up being a ceramics artist, but we were always found object artists. We were always playing with things. Actually, our neighbors used to leave bags of stuff they didn't want behind, like broken jewelry, broken plates, and we were always making art from it. And this necklace, if you look closely at it, is the stir sticks from McDonald's. Quite a while ago, my mom saved them for a long time, and she made this beautiful necklace out of them. And those are my brothers. That was us quite a while ago. So I started doing jewelry and making it out of broken beer. This is beer bottle glass and Christmas ornaments. And I was really lucky early on. I worked with she was a fashion model that hurt herself, and she ended up putting on shows. So this is interior design fabric. And they were looking for jewelry that really was outside of the box. And this is one of my few corporate gigs. Mary Green Silk does lingerie. So this is back in the late 90s. I did a lot of jewelry for her with found objects. And my parents gave me ceramic pieces because they were both into pottery. And I would just do things with them. So one of the things, have some of us left and may do a workshop with them, but I used to do collage on purses. This is before I knew how to paint. And I would put written word on there, and they ended up being called emotional baggage because people always told me some story about what was going on in their life. And they always asked how I knew. I didn't know, but, and then recently, because I was doing this slideshow, I was digging around for things and found all this bus shelter glass. San Francisco used to have great bus shelters. And I lived in Hunters Point, and every other weekend or so, someone would break the bus shelter and I would be out there sweeping it up. So I still have these, and they may turn into jewelry, so stay tuned. So in early part of my career, I was a street artist. I did street fairs. That was a grueling, grueling life. I was in Hunters Point Shipyard for 15 years. And the last 15 years, I've been at 1890 Bryant, which used to be the old Best Foods mayonnaise plant in San Francisco. So for those of you who've ever been sick or ill or have back issues or knee issues, I really believe firmly that it's your soul pushing you in the right direction if you don't fight it and you inquire within. I found out that I could sketch because all you could do is pencil and paper on your back. This is when I started becoming an artist. And I started exploring what I wanted to paint. I didn't know. This was in my early 30s. And just trying different things, but I always was in surrealism for some reason, and I didn't even know what surrealism was because I did not study art history. So one of the pivotal things that happened is a corporate psychologist that is now living in Petaluma here. She asked us, who are your heroes and why? And I would suggest to all of you to take the time to figure that out, because it will tell you what you care about. This was a painting I created, and it's Ode to Thelonious Monk, who's one of the people I admire the most. These are my heroes, but this is from back in the 90s, I think. But Thelonious Monk, all of them. Maya Lin did the Vietnam Memorial and was accused of being a communist, et cetera, when she was a teenager. She did this. The two bands, Lenore Feeney was an amazing artist and is stuck in Paris because of the war, and then Picasso. I loved how prolific all these people were. When I had to figure out why I was attracted to them, they wrote and created the work they wanted to create the way they wanted to create it, and they didn't worry about audience, and the audience found them. And it's not the smartest way to build a career, but that's so then, well, I'm lucky enough at the shipyard to have Joe Sam as my mentor, and he just said, you have to look at your ethnicity and gender for your inspiration, or your work will always be middle of the room. So I took that seriously, and I'm still, thank goodness for social media, because I'm still in touch with Joe Sam that way today, but he changed my whole life, my whole art career, really. Growing up in San Francisco, I grew up Portola, Mission District. I grew up around Spanish-speaking people. No Asians were out there. Now it's all Chinese. There were only one other Chinese family out there at the time. But growing up in San Francisco in the 70s, 60s, 70s, even the 80s, I didn't identify as Asian because nobody made that differential. Like, there wasn't, everybody just hung out with everybody. I never felt different or other. And now I see it in San Ramon. It's kind of heartbreaking, actually. But back then, I joined AWA to see what about me was Asian. And I learned a lot of different things. I'm still learning. But I looked for strong examples of women that had self-agency, because I didn't back then. And this painting's called Salmia. And these are paintings I'm showing you. Most of them I have not sold because they were so iconic for me. But Salmia was a woman from India, and she was part of AWA, very outspoken. I think she lives in India again. But this was a painting dedicated to her. And this is me continuing exploration of who I am. And I didn't preconceive this. I find out what I'm thinking by painting what I like, what I'm attracted to, and I figure out what it means later. This painting evolved while my father was while he was dying. He was bedridden. And up to that point, even though all my paintings were stored on all the walls in my home, he would never say anything to me. I found out through my friends that he liked what I was doing, but he'd never said anything to me. But because he's a captive audience, we were able to have that, I guess, that moment of acknowledgement that I always wanted. But it was interesting because I wasn't working from a photo. This just came up, and it was me gathering elements of reminding myself who was helping me, or my wish that I would have support while my dad was dying. And then this is something I'm still working with today, is exploring a sense of belonging, and that I have a right to be in the room with everybody else, and exploring self-agency and speaking up for myself or anybody. It's hard for me to even know when I need to speak up. I'm learning that. So one of the things that I got fed up with at some point was I just kept dating the wrong men. I was dating abusive, dominant men, and I couldn't figure out why, because my parents they never fought, they never raised their voices, they never even had a differing opinion. They got along really well. At least that's what it looked like to me. So I dug back into my family history, and I didn't have to go far. This is my mom's mom. This is her mugshot coming through Angel Island. And for some reason, just the Chinese back in the early 1900s were interned or imprisoned on Angel Island and interrogated. And she was stuck there for 3 months and was going to have to be sent back to China. And there was a lot of suicides when that happened. That's a whole nother story. So I started to do portraits. I thought I would do portraits of women who came in through Angel Island and went through their, whatever their story was. But most Chinese families either didn't know how their families came in, or if they did, their families didn't want anybody knowing the stories. So I gave up on that project and just went in a different direction. I have to thank Rene Yanez from SOMARTS. He just passed last year, 2 years ago. And he did a Dia de los Muertos at SOMARTS, which gave me the breath to do these big art installations about anything that was important to me. Because it's normally a Mexican celebration, but he allowed anybody to come in. So what I found out through doing this is I realized that I have human trafficking in my family. My grandmother was sold to my grandfather. He's a privileged Chinese person from the US. His father worked for Leland Stanford, but he went to China to buy my grandmother. And she was his second wife. The first wife died. I don't really understand everything, but she didn't know him before they sold her to him. But that's a whole nother story. The thing that you dig into your family, and I highly recommend it, when you dig in to find the patterns, you have to be willing to look at what you find. And luckily, my mother was very open about things. So truth-telling led me to do an art installation that some of you have seen. It's traveled to the East Coast, and I hope it can have more wings than that. Part of that show started when I wish I could remember why I knew to do this, but I printed images of my mother. These are 2 ages of my father. And I started sewing them into little pillows, almost like to make them so precious. My father also was sold, so we don't know who his real parents were. He was bought by a Chinese couple from Oakland, California. And he got beat up so much he ran away when he was 15. He couldn't go far because back then, when you're Chinese, you couldn't leave Chinatown. You would have gotten annihilated pretty much. So bless his heart, though, he grew up to be a real stand-up person. So I continued on making these pillows. I think I have about 100 of them now. Some with my grandmother. This was the wedding outfit that her village gave her before they handed her over to my grandfather. But sewing these, I realized they're meditations and a way to grieve. So this is a picture that I grew up with. I always thought it was my father's first grade Christmas card, but actually this is an orphanage. I realized when I was sewing this, I realized that this was an orphanage. So I don't know the story, and my mom didn't know the story, and my father had already passed. So the idea with the pillows is when you're doing art installations, you're not supposed to hang things where the people will run into them. But since these are pillows, I've been allowed to hang these in the way. This was at Gallery Route 1, and I thank them for letting me do a show about human trafficking out at Point Reyes. It was new, and they weren't sure how their audience was going to take it, but they were willing to risk it. But I hung the pillows so if you weren't paying attention to what was in the gallery, it would hit you in the head. And I love that idea. And then I was able to paint the walls and then write on chalk just abbreviated stories for my mother, my maternal grandmother, and my father. So the other thing that I realized, my father sold mother for opium when I was from 6 to 12 years old. And she didn't tell me until I started doing these installations, and she wrote an essay and allowed me to put it up with the show. And I can't believe how functional she was, considering that her father was selling her for opium. So anyway, my feminism came screaming out of me at that point, and this is probably in my 40s. And this is a painting that I didn't know what it was until I finished it, and it had a title, and it's called Pull. And I've done different variations of this because I think it's a really important message, and that is, we could create really strong bills of rights, and we can try to teach people to respect women, but largely if the women don't believe they deserve it and that they deserve to stand up and say what they want, we can't move the needle. So that's why I really believe in helping women heal, or at least to begin to think that they deserve more than they are asking for. So this is the painting back here. This was the initial sketch for it. And it was an idea that I still want to work on. And it was kind of thinking of an homage to my grandmother and my mom, where women's voices are cut off. And this is happening all over the world every day. And this was my wish that it's for anyone. It doesn't, you don't even have to be a physical female. It's for any feminine energy that's ever been silenced, or anyone that's ever felt silenced and disrespected. And my initial proposal for this was in a venue, because I said we can invite families to bring in their mothers, or collect stories. And I believe in sharing story as part of healing. But the director said that she thought this was just my issue, and that was just my generation, and that her daughters don't feel this way at all, and they're outspoken. And it made me stop. And so I Googled feminism in China, but then I breathed again, because it's horrible there. I mean, it's really horrible. And this yellow book here is one of the latest books written about what's going on in China right now. So I was being silenced by another Chinese woman, and it's so sad, but that's what happens. So I'm continuing on this project, not sure what first in the series is doing. And the wish in this painting is that women come together, or just female energies or feminine energies, just gather and realize that we're not each other's enemies or competition, but that we are each other's best friends and allies. And not only women are really good at supporting other people, but we need to be good at accepting support from other people. And that's what this painting is. It's about both sides. And eventually I'm hoping to do a series where these dresses all start becoming realized and more of them rise. And that's become self-agency and speaking out. So I didn't get into that venue, but when I did this, and I feel like it was for my 30th anniversary, the Smithsonian invited me to contribute a piece to a show that is continuing on the 1970s legacy that they did, called What is Feminist Art? So some of the big names, Judy Chicago, I think even Gloria Steinem's written an essay for this cause. So I'm really proud of that. I'm so happy being 62 to finally have something in a major institution. So these are the labels I walk around with and give and work with workshop-wise, and I give talks about, but cultural surrealism. So there's this person of color doing this work, social justice and feminism, and then spirituality, mental health, and well-being, which is a really funny place to be in the US, because like just recently my insurance company called me and said, they were so excited to see my brochure for A Place of Our Own, but they noticed I used the word healing. And they said they don't insure healing and they don't insure workshops. So I'm gonna have to find another broker. I'm like, oh God, it's crazy. So I'm sure there's gonna be a way, but I wanted to put it out there. So if you guys know like, ways to work on this. So in spiritual mental health and well-being, I try to encourage people to challenge their internal belief systems and decolonize themselves. And pretty much every one of you on the call, no matter if you're a person of color or white identify, or even Jewish, well, especially Jewish, you have been colonized unless you're Viking, pure extraction, I think, you've been colonized by somebody. I mean, Ireland colonized by Britain, Scots are colonized by Britain. You know, it's everybody. So if you start challenging, where did you learn self-doubt from? This is how to do it. So this painting, another one, iconic for me, and I didn't realize it at the time when I was painting it. This is based on a Vera Wang wedding dress. It was about becoming so sure about your gifts, like lose the self-doubt. Be sure about the gifts so that you can then go and leave parts of yourself behind for communities and people that need to learn from you. And it won't diminish who you are. And for any that have suffered or do suffer from depression, I'm more than happy to talk to you on the side, because that was a huge spiritual awakening for me. I went through a lot, but I had great support, especially with my partner, Cris, who understood it deeply. I got off 15 years of being on antidepressants. And there is a, I forget what it's called, but you will experience it if you get off the drugs, because the drugs really kind of ruin things. I came through it, and it's been amazing. So if you're going to heal community, if you're going to work with community, you got to heal yourself first. And using art has always been my way to do it. One of the things I do is a place of our own, is figuring out everything that's important to you and question why. And again, SOMARTS, I love that institution in San Francisco. Rio Yanez invited me and gave me this huge space to fill. And I loved it, and I realized important. And even 2 years ago, I felt like I was imposing on people. Like, even I had to tell myself that I'm not imposing on you guys today, even though you're the ones that showed up. This is a mantra, and Teresa, who's on the call, actually owns this piece. Teresa Leung, thank you. But this was taking a chance and saying, I'm gonna paint pink because that's what I want to do. I'm gonna make it girly, and I'm gonna say I'm loved and lovable on here, and I'm valued and valuable. And I just wanted to own that, and own that I am significant and I do have importance in the world. And I encourage you all to explore that if you don't already believe it. So one of the ways you can explore it is to go into the things that bring you chronic heartache, and that's exploring your hungry ghosts. And again, Dia de los Muertos at SOMARTS, the curator was Rio Yanez, and Carolina Quintanilla assisted him because Renee had just passed right before this show, and it was really heartbreaking. Excuse me, I'm gonna cry. And I didn't do this alone. I had help from Cris and Irene Wabawa, and Chris Matos, my partner. Notice that he's on a ladder. Ed Fung, and then Dai just passed a couple of years ago. And then Bronwyn, my friend from Australia. Everybody helped me because I've had issues with my knee, but it was so wonderful to have community come in. And what I teach, and the women who've gone through a place of our own with me, we teach that family patterns just began as coping mechanisms when your family was stressed from colonization, from religion, from government, and they got twisted into things that you think are yours. You think the depression is yours, you think the addiction is yours, but it's not. It was something handed down, and it can be unraveled. So all that internal looks external for me. This particular piece was part of the human trafficking show I did in Point Reyes, and I got all these little cocktail umbrellas and had to prime them and paint all of them because I didn't want the color. And all the little tags here all said they say to do something to help with the human trafficking. One is to donate to Asian Women's Shelter, because they're in jails. It doesn't matter if you're Asian or what you are. They actually go in the jails and help you get out and find. They make sure to protect you so that you're not breaking the law. I also wrote the Polaris Project, and there's other names on all these tags for people to engage and create awareness. And all these little umbrellas on the table to the right, I all have these tags on them, and I encourage people to take them And at the end of the show, when all these little ones were gone, I let people cut these and take them home. So that's that. So for me, I've learned this year, and Ron Lee was a big part of helping me claim this, but healing is a radical act of protest for me. It's the only way we can learn to stand up, and then the only way we can stop tearing each other down. So, and the three categories that I'm seeing from all the workshops I've been doing over the years is that this generational wounding, you have to unravel from that and name those things, and then do things to recover your intention and on and live by it, because your inner wisdom knows more than you. You know, the colonizers want you to not trust your inner wisdom. So art is a great vehicle to do that. And then to grow your sense of belonging, that you belong in the room, that what you have to say is important. So besides all the artwork, we're forming workshops, and I have been developing one main workshop as the place of our own, or place, but where Cris helped me coin this phrase, flying lessons, inquire within. So everything's kind of falling under that moniker. So place of our own, I need to share briefly what it's about. Some of the women are on the call, so if some of you want to know how it worked for them, please, if they stay on the call, ask after. We just went through 32 sessions. Usually goes January to June, and we have an art exhibition, but this time it went from January to August, and we have an artist talk online as well. But the bottom line is, I asked them, if you had a place of your own, what would it be? And it's not that easy to answer if you don't feel you deserve it. So one of the main, again, I'm bringing up the hungry ghosts, the family patterns. This was inspired, synchronistically, I was looking at why I was dating men, or dominant men, and looking at family patterns. And at the same time, I was working for a company that hired Sylvia LaFair, who's a psychologist, and a book she's written, which is still super great guide for anybody. It's called Don't Bring It to Work. So her basic tenet is what happens at the dining table happens at the conference table. So you can extract that out to your day-to-day life. But this is Emily Yamachi sharing her family patterns with the students, the 2020 cohort. And we ask you not just to write down your family maps, but to actually map out the patterns of trauma, like violence, alcoholism, addiction. And I wanted to thank Francis for creating this for us to work with. Passive aggressiveness, victim, bully, etc. It's naming those things. Excuse me. So then some of the workshops go on to reparenting yourself. We use art projects to actually reparent yourself. Like one of them is love letters to myself. And it's learning to write kind things to your little self. Not that easy to do. Janet King here, she was not an artist when she came in. Her mom wouldn't allow them to make art when they were little, for whatever reason. But she wrote a little series of apologies that she wished her mom would have said to her. Basically, it's kind of a time machine where you are saying it to yourself to nurture yourself. And then the other thing we do is create artwork that answers that question. If you had a place of your own, what would it be? You know, what would it look like? What would it smell like? What would it feel like? And a lot of these women are not artists that do this. Like again, Janet, who's Native American, hadn't made art before. And she decided, and we tell them, once you kind of have an intention of what a place of your own is, found objects will come to you. And it was a real test this time because we were totally online. Cris and I couldn't bring materials for them to choose from because Cris and I are found object artists for decades and we have a lot of stuff. But Janet actually found twigs on a meridian on an expressway in Oakland. And right when she needed it, they were perfect. So this is her Lumbee cabin recreated. And her idea was her place of her own. You can walk into this cabin, it's a time travel machine. It's before misogyny, patriarchy, it's before colonization. So you can walk in here and discover who you are before colonization, before your family got colonized. So Janet, thank you for letting me share that. So I'm about to finish, I'm about to close. Thank you guys for listening to this. I have to say my constant angels in the last 15 years have been my mom and Cris Matos. This is us installing inside an empty storefront in Chinatown. It was a San Francisco Arts Commission project. And there's Cris up a ladder again. So I just really wanted to show my mom's depth and breadth of work. This was a place of her own, which is about a yellow swing in our backyard. And this is at Somart's again. She also did ceramics. This is her monster teapot. And again, you guys are familiar with her necklace made out of McDonald's stir sticks. And then I wanted to share Chris's information because he is a Renaissance artist. He's a photographer, he's a painter, he's, I'll show you in a minute. So he found these horses just standing on the beach like this and caught this shot. It was amazing. He also was in Puerto Rico right after Maria hit. And he was going back to do whatever he could to help his country and to help Utuado, which is his hometown. It was heartbreaking, but he has a lot of shots like this. And then one of my favorite pieces is, besides his paintings, he takes found paintings. You could kind of see it in the distance, the mountains. And he uses tissue paper and mixed media on top of those things. So you can sort of see the background, but he works with that. So when I said Cris is up the ladder, this is, for the last 15 years, he has helped me install every show I've been in or have put on. So that's at least one show a year, and he's up a ladder every time. And then the thing I'm most proud of with him is he is a sonero. So he is a master salsa singer and songwriter. But his son, he's in a band with his son Israel called Manicato. And Manicato means person of bold, valiant heart in Taíno, which is a native Puerto Rican or Boricua. And that's Latin funk, and I love the music. And they're all socially conscious lyrics. Without even trying, that's just how they think. So I'm going to summarize. In summary, there's 3 parts, I think. And everything is I found out that everything is meshed together. I don't have separate parts of my life, which is kind of an interesting business conundrum. So you guys know me mainly for my paintings, and I'm doing a lot of collage right now because that's where I'm finding my joy. And I'm doodle collage has been interesting, and the pandemic has kind of sped that up. And this is where Jasmine has been helping me with the technology. But I'm trying to create merchandise because I need to make money too. We all do. It's really hard right now for artists, but I wanted to have products that made people think, not just you, but anybody sees bags. So that's why I call it merch is meditation. Like this bag's called Seeing Inside Joy. So this is my way of giving you permission to still find happiness in what's going on right now, and to find magic, because that's important for your immune system right now. It doesn't all have to be doom and gloom. There's plenty of that in the news. I actually don't watch the news unless there's something I need to pay attention to. And this pillow is from an original painting called Dancing to the Tune of Your Own Drummer. This is to remind you, if for some reason you feel weird, you're the ugly duckling in the family or the dark sheep, and you just don't belong, or you think different than most people around you, this pillow tells you that that's what you're supposed to be, and that makes you super special. And then finally, my art exhibitions, the workshops, the workshops are growing. I want to make them so they're available for anybody. And I do talks. I was more nervous about this talk than this room when it was 350 people there at the De Young. I'm more comfortable in person. And now I can add online to my my repertoire. And these are the students from the 2020 cohort, these lovely women that are part of my family now. So if you want to help artists, You can, if you post us on your social media, you give us so much credibility versus us just posting. Anything's appreciated. Of course, collect the artwork. And if you sign up newsletters and workshops, it's easier for me to let you know about them. But I understand about emails because I get stressed out about a lot of emails. And I always need help with admin ideas. So that's me in a nutshell. And this is cynthiatom.com. You can find everything there. I'm calling my merch as meditation store, Atelier Cynthia Tom. And then there's, of course, a place of our own. So that's it. Yay! And I'm going to start the screen share. Thank you, Aran. So what I wanted to do was thank you guys very, very much. Jasmine, can you help me unmute everybody? Or you guys can unmute yourselves, actually. I was going to say, do you want to take, thank you. You guys want to take a 5-minute break? I'll come back in about 5 minutes. And I would love to open it up and have you guys ask if, this is what I encourage. If you bubbled up anything coming up, that's your intuition. I'd like you to share it because someone else here needs to hear what you have to say. So all your thoughts are super important. And Aran, did you want to say anything about that? Because Aran and I've been running Place together since January.
Well, what I can say to that is it takes a village. And when we come together to support an artist, it's not just supporting the artist. You're supporting yourself by saying, you know what, I'm going to take some time to immerse myself with beauty by what Cynthia created. And then I'm going to take up time and absorb what other people have to say about her beautiful work. So all of that is collectively, we're amplifying positive energy. And in 2020, we need so much of that. So I gotta get going, but it's been a beautiful time to see you here. Your hard work paid off, so yay. Love you, Cynthia, and have a good rest of your day, you guys. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Hi, Soul. Hi, Soul. Yay. So I'm gonna just take a quick bio break. Cris just bought me a cup of coffee, so I want you to feel free to have coffee and to eat while we're talking. And if you need to leave, please feel free to do that. It's quite all right to do it. There's no judgment. Hi, Marianne. Hi, Carlin.
Hi, nice to see you.
Yes.
That was great.
I introduced you. You missed. I'll send you the slide. I took a picture off your LinkedIn and introduced you as the YouTube monitor.
Oh, okay. No,
Hi, Carlin. I'll be right back.
Okay, take a break.
For now, it's really great. Very powerful.
Can I ask you guys, is this being recorded?
Yes.
It is?
Cynthia said it was, yes.
This is Leo at that Matos back. Sergio just went over your machine, not just, but anyway, he did, and it's got a broken top gear. So he said it is not worth fixing. So if you want to come down and take a look at what we have or whatever you'd like to do, just let you know that it can be fixed. It probably can be, but it would cost way too much. So, but he said, give this give her a call, tell her it cannot be fixed. All right, we're here until 4 today, otherwise 9:30 to 5:30 every other day. Thank you.
Susan, are you there?
Cynthia, are we muted? Are we muted?
No,
Because
you can unmute yourselves.
I'm on my phone and I'm on my computer. So I don't want to be, I want to make sure that my conversations are muted because right now we're in break.
I think you have to mute yourself.
I know, I'm trying to do that on this dang phone.
I can mute you if you want.
I can mute you. No worries.
Hi, Elsie. Hi, Janet. How was your walk today? You're on mute, Janet. Hi, Susan.
My walk was beautiful. Let's see. Let me see.
You're muted again. Hi, Christine. Elsie. Hi, Elsie.
Yeah.
Hi there. I'm in a car on my way to Eagle Lake up in Northern Cal.
Oh, beautiful.
But actually, my reception was pretty good, so I'm glad I caught most of it. I missed the beginning, but we'll be in touch later, Cynthia.
Oh, please. I look forward to it.
Yeah, that was a nice talk, though.
Thanks.
Congratulations on the Zoom.
Thank you. I know I forgot to turn on my timer, but I think I kept it to under 40.
Yeah,
that was
pretty good.
Yeah. And actually, I would have loved to just talk to you guys through the whole thing, which is what I like to do live, but I don't know. That was too unnerving. Hi, Mitzi.
Hi.
So,
I
Cynthia,
have something really special I want to ask you. I've been your fan for over 20 years and seen
really
many of the installations and spoke to you actually at
Somarts?
Yeah. And I have just, I bought a piece of yours at Dr. Krasner, my cardiologist.
Dr. Kirsch. Oh my goodness.
And I'm so excited that you talked about this piece. You called this one the Asian American.
Salmia. Yeah, her name is Salmia Sitaraman.
Oh,
that's so
how do you
funny.
spell that? Sonia?
Salmia, Soumya. You should look her, actually, you should look her up because she's an artist in her own right and she writes children's books. She's in India though, I think.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Mitzi, if you can, take a picture of that with you and send it to me if you can.
I will.
Please.
I feel so honored to know you and have you in my hometown. And I just recently retired as a psychiatric.
Hold on. Yes. Hold on one second. Yes, Deborah.
I'm trying to call in, but I'm driving Aiden around, but I'm listening to you on the YouTube, but I can't run the Zoom.
But I
want to be with you. Can you hold up your phone up to Zoom so I can be with you?
I don't know. I'm actually talking to people right now. I'm not sure.
Okay, that's fine. I just want to say it was wonderful and I love you and I'm with all
Thank
of you.
you. Okay, bye. Deborah Stein, who teaches art history at SF State, just said hello to everybody. She said she's listening on her phone. I can't help her. Okay.
I just wanted to say one more thing about the ancestor maps. And I have just recently been able to have time. I have been doing ancestry.com since I was 16. And sometimes when I'm looking at a certain area of a branch line, they'll come and talk to me in my dreams. And
wow, you're lucky.
I really want to be able to do more work this way. So I will definitely try to come see more of what you're doing.
Yeah, we're trying to make it, I'm trying to make some of the workshops so you can just access them and, maybe I'll charge a little bit of money. I don't know. The money part is always so hard. I'm looking at my ancestry about.
But you're
money.
Worth it. You are so gracious.
Thank you.
Seriously.
You know what was really helpful? I thought it was me not having self-worth and having low value and all that. And I went to an intuitive woman I work with And she said, no, honey, it's because when you grew up, when, you know, your immediate ancestors, including your mother, whenever there was money exchange, someone was being sold.
Oh,
yeah.
that
So
is-
I'm working with that awareness now, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't blame it on myself.
We are not consuming you. We are just being blessed.
Thank you, Mitzi. Thank you. That's so kind of you. Wow. That's eye-opening, actually. And Debbie, Debbie Victoria, are you on
I'm
the call?
here. I'm sorry. I don't know how to get the video, so you can't see me. I apologize for that. I've been working on that the whole time, but it's been, oh my gosh, I'm so overwhelmed with your work, how powerful it is. And
thank you.
I'm really excited to reconnect with you, and I can't wait to do more work with you. So Cynthia and she was one of my best friends in high school, and we reconnected. I think it was on Instagram.
Yeah, recently, not that long ago.
Yeah, just recently, maybe the last year or so. And yeah, the work I'm very much intuitive. I'm a psychic, intuitive healer, and a trance medium. And Mitzi, what you were talking about was going to a dream where you connect with your ancestors. So you're traveling in the astral and healing yourself through that connection. So really powerful what you're doing. It's very cool. Yeah, Cynthia, I would love to work with you more and help with these women, because I can see the patterns that were showing up beyond what you've talked about. Some of them, you were talking about colonization, and one of the biggest things that we as people in female bodies have experienced are what we call male control. And a lot of times it's been passed down from males in their families. So that woundedness goes very far.
Yeah, all it takes is a question to open it up too.
So
and
powerful.
Can you remember what you wrote such a beautiful thing to me about what I'm creating? Do you remember that?
I can pull it up for you. You can go ahead and continue talking, and then I'll find a place to come in.
Thank
I'll pull it up for you.
Thank you. God, I am so excited to see, Josie, you're on mute, unmute yourself. You guys can unmute yourselves, because I'd love you to just chime in when you're feeling it, if this works the way we want.
How do you want us to participate? Like raise our
just
hands?
Speak up. You can raise your hand, but just jump in, and we'll see. You know, if it doesn't work, then we're gonna have you guys raise your hands virtually, but just jump in. I think I'm trusting.
This is very great. You know, I've never seen myself as an artist at all. You know, I admire your work very much. So from what I get is that some of the people that participate in your workshops, they've never done art before. Like I've never done art before. And
you could let Janet speak to that if you.
Janet.
I think Janet left.
No, she's in the dark. She's there still.
Oh, is she still there?
But go ahead, Josie, while Janet's turning on her mic.
I mean, it's a big risk for me to do art. I think because I haven't done it, and cooking is my thing, you know. But I did want to share. This summer I've been doing a lot of reading on Latinx feminist women and memoir, and it's pretty deep issues of feminism, but from a colonized experience, and what that is very different from a Euro-centered experience. And I'm trying to go into writing about it from my own experience. I just retired, and I retired not under great conditions, being ill, and I've been ill for the last 7 months. I just had surgery last week, doing great recovery. And I think that I'm trying to find a new journey for myself that's different from work, which has always been my answer to everything. So I appreciate what you're doing very much, and I love your work. And
you might want to take a clue, and I've never done this before. I've never spoken about my work this way before, and you're here, so maybe this is you've got a path now. And, you know, I wanted to let Janet say something because about her experience with art before she met us and now what she experienced with us. If you don't mind, Janet, you're on mute. She works for Native Health Services.
Yeah, I can't unmute myself. Can you hear me?
No, you are. Now I can hear you. Yes.
Okay, sorry. Okay, all right. Yeah. So sorry. I've been trying to unmute myself. Wasn't able to figure it out. So what is the question?
Well, Josie is interested in looking for a path, and she just wondered, you know, since we're teaching art, what it's like for someone who kind of came in as a non-artist to place. How was that for you?
Yeah, it made me realize I am an artist. I didn't know, I never thought of myself as an artist because I didn't do the things that art people do, like carry a sketch pad with them all the time or have colored pencils with them or whatever. So I never thought of myself as an artist. So I didn't really, you know, I was really attracted to place more for the emotional cleansing, you know, and I figured, well, my art's gonna probably not look as good as everybody else's, but it's going to be art. And then what I learned at Place is that it's not really the art piece that's the most fantastic part of the journey. It's the process of making the art. So that really resonated really well with me. So so I realized I am an artist, and I really like this approach to art of found objects because, you know, I'm not the real precise, symmetrical kind of, you know, I kind of, the kind of art that I'm really attracted to are children's art or rock art or petroglyphs, because they're not, you don't have to do art in the proportions of, I always been attracted to children's art because they just, or, you know, paint freely and don't care if it's not really, you know, down to the right size or, you know, real specific and graphic. So I realized I am an artist, even though I didn't think of myself as one before that. And the part that Cynthia was saying in my story is my mother didn't like a mess in the house. So we weren't encouraged to make any kind of mess. And I did have 2 colored pencils that somebody gave me when I was really young, and I didn't have any paper to see what they could do. So I drew a little tiny minuscule, you know, microscopic piece of each of the pencil on the closet door, hoping she wouldn't see it. And she found it and took the pencils away. So anyways, I didn't have a chance to really explore being an artist as a child. So thanks, Cynthia. I really do feel like it. And Iran, I really do feel like I was reparented by going through a place file.
Thank you, Janet. And Janet was the love letter collage. That was like the first piece she's made in who knows how long. And she just went outside of the box because that's what we have you do, is there's no rules, but we help, you know, we help guide you, but there really aren't any rules. And then the Lumbee cabin is also Janet's piece. And again, that's the first thing she's really done. And we know how to pull it out of you because we've been doing it for so long. We know how to pull that stuff out of you. Yeah.
It was really helpful to have Cynthia and the other people in the class like be excited about what I did. I was like, well, what's the big deal? I just made it, you know, and like they were like, wow, look at this. And I just like, nobody ever noticed what I was doing. So I really meant that about feeling reparented. So thank you.
Thank you.
Cynthia,
yeah.
I found the quote if you want me to read it whenever you're ready.
Yeah. So you guys, Debbie Victoria wrote this on Instagram and I started crying because I still have that self-doubt too, no matter what I do. Like, yeah. So why don't you go ahead and read what this is very recent.
Yeah. So I responded to her. I said, I was looking at your art clairvoyantly last night. You speak from the 7th chakra and your art heals past lives and current family energy. Your work with the feminine is with spirit guides that work with trauma and loss of women's creative energy and miracle producing strength.
Is that the best acknowledgement ever? Oh my God. So, yeah.
Your work is so powerful, and the fact that you just allow it to flow out of you without having too much of a preconceived notion is phenomenal. And I would love to work with you some more on that to help you help others, you know, tease out that that healing, because that's what my life is all about, is about healing. You know, I help people really recover who they are, because we're all so, we can all get so lost in all the patterns that you know, that life presents us. And right now we're having a wonderful opportunity to go within, because we're really stuck at home with ourselves and really looking at our primary relationships, and especially that one with ourselves, and discover how powerful that is and how miraculous that is, and all the love that we have to share with the world, I think is just overflowing from all of us. So this is a really powerful way for us to reconnect. I mean, we wouldn't be able to do it in person because there's too many of us, but we were able to do it online. So that in itself is a miracle, which is really wonderful. So thank you for inviting me.
And the other thing I should have said also is I am not a therapist. I'm not a trained therapist. And what the Western idea of healer is, I'm not that either. I really am an artist that works intuitively, and like even a place of our own. We have a whole workbook and we have curriculum. I've never written that stuff before, but I really trusted every morning that the ideas were just downloaded to me, what I'm supposed to be doing. And that's how I do my art too. And if any of you want to learn to do that, you know, we can talk about it. And you know, the talk I just gave is 30 years and 40 minutes. So there's a lot I left out, because I couldn't fit it in, but more than happy to share. And I would love all of you bring something to the table. Like I'd love Susie to talk about what she does. I'd love Diane to talk about what she does. Christine, you know, all of you have something that you're bringing to community. And what a cool thing for women to start caring for each other and learning from each other, and stop saying, I don't measure up. That's old stuff. That's not you. And we have to realize we measure up, because it's crazy right now. I mean, that the world, it's not even the world, it's the US needs us to show up big.
Cynthia, may I? Oh, Susan, you go ahead and I'll follow you, okay?
Sure. Cynthia, that was an amazing talk, and your work is so inspiring to me. Just every painting and every collage and the way you title things, I'm so inspired by you. And I think that what you bring to the world has resonated with me since I met you, because it is what I've strived to bring to the world also, which is giving Josie, sort of like what you talked about, what you're looking for. I've always wanted to let people know, introduce them to their inner artist. Like everyone has one, and it's a piece of that feeling of not being worthy that means that you have disengaged from it, or you abandoned her or something. And Janet, you know, the story you talked about of your childhood, so many people who work with me have said similar things, that someone in their life wounded them and told them they weren't creative, they weren't artistic, they weren't allowed to make a mess, whatever. Or maybe you were creative when you were younger, and then at some point in your life, being a grown-up took over. Especially as mothers and wives, women tend to give up themselves in order to take care of all of their responsibilities, and taking care of themselves and their creative selves really doesn't seem quantifiably important enough to stay with it. So we give it up, or maybe you have chronic illness and it's really hard to have the energy to gather your things or even clear a space in your house once in a while to make something. So I used to have a studio. It's still there, actually, in Cotati, California, and full of art supplies that are missing us at this moment because they don't know where we went. But now I gather people online, and I do something called art journaling, which is a mixed media, no rules creative practice. And right now we're gathering, I call it creative life raft, because of the last 4 or 5 years in this country has been such a strain for us to just stay afloat, keep our heads above water. And so I write prompts and inspire people to go within. I love that, Cynthia, how the flying lessons and the statements you had always said, inquire within, back hurting, inquire within. It's so important. That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's what I do, and it's very resonant with what you do.
Thank you, Susie. And just so you know, that kind of work takes so much out of us. So anytime any of you can give a nod, especially on social media, I know everybody avoids it, but if you can give a nod to those of us, and even yourself, and we give you a nod, when you're working for community, it's so much work. It is so much, but it's, as long as you're not a wounded healer, you're doing it for the right reasons. And you just need support, and women need to support each other, because guys, well, I shouldn't say guys don't know how to do it, because Cris knows how to do it, my Cris, but he's very in touch with his feminine energy. So thank you, Susie. Someone I wanted to introduce to is Julia Hutton. Julia actually has been such a great advocate when I'm writing grants for place, because a lot of the women who need place and take it cannot afford to pay pretty much anything, because that's why they're in the position they're in. But Julia actually helped me so much through the years write the grants, because she understands what I'm doing, and it's not easy to understand what we're doing because it is pioneering work. So Julia, I don't know if you have anything you want to say, but I wanted to publicly thank you so much.
Oh, well, that's nice. I appreciate it. I love what you do, and Cynthia and I ran into each other at one of the Dia de los Muertos things at SOMARTS, and I just sort of said, what are you up to? And she said she was struggling with the grant deadline. I was like, oh, can I help that? As a longtime grant writer for lots of different projects for myself and institutions I worked for and stuff. So it's been great. In fact, I was going to ask you what was around the corner, but we can follow up on that in a couple of days. What I did want to ask you, though, was can you tell us a little bit more about what's happening with the Smithsonian, how that came about? And is it going to be the triptych of the 3 dressmakers? Is it one? Like, what is happening with that? That was very interesting.
It'd be cool if you wanted to write, I could give you the name of the curators.
Okay.
And you could say what's going to happen, because what they did was they gave us 8.5 by 11 dimension paper. And because what they did in the 70s when they first conceived this is they sent postcards out to all these feminists and artists, and they wrote things on the postcards. Well, now they've given us 8.5 by 11, so I actually put the sketch, because I hadn't had the painting at that point. And then I just wrote what I basically told you about this, that women need to support each other. And the other thing in academia is I've been a College Art Association, and Marianne Milford would know about this because she's longtime Mills, big professor, luckily retired now, I think. But they had lectures that said they don't need feminism in the arts anymore. Like, it's dead. It's an old, feminism's kind of a dead subject. And I don't know if I had the nerve to say it back then, but I was so mad. I'm like, well, as a woman of color, at least, it is not dead.
Oh,
it's more important than ever. So I'm so glad that the Smithsonian did this. And I think they were smart. They got curators from different communities, like an Asian American, African American curator, and they picked women from all over the country. And thank you. I was on somebody's radar screen. That doesn't happen very often for me. And They just invited me to pitch whatever I wanted to. But it would be so cool to see those proposals turned into a full-on show, because right now it's up. The proposals are up on the wall. Iran actually went there and tried to film it, but it didn't quite come out. And it's up through November. Of course, nobody's going there right now. And then it's online into perpetuity. So at least what I did is online and researchable forever, but it'd be so cool if they actually did a real show. And it would be interesting because they would have all different color people there, you know, from every walk of life in the United States in the show. It would be so amazing.
Is it a virtual show now?
And it is virtual.
Okay.
Yeah. And it was virtual before they even, you know, before the pandemic happened.
Can you tell us again the name of the exhibit?
It's called What is Feminist Art? I can send it to you guys too. It's What is Feminist Art, and it's the Smithsonian American Art Archives collection.